Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, Fox News contributor, co-chairman of the Center for American Security and former national security advisor to Vice President Pence and President Trump. Great to have you on the program today, General. First of all, does it matter? Not so much what the president said first or what he said second, but like this third and fourth and fifth generation of it.
Yeah, thanks, Harris. Thanks for having me. Look, what he said is foolish. Somebody ought to grab him in the Oval Office and say, you need to understand, Mr. President, there's a war going on. Innocent people are dying. Cities are being ravaged and destroyed. And your words do matter. You said that on the campaign trail. And you have to understand, when you make comments like that, you're not caring when you said that. You don't care about what Putin thinks. What everybody has to understand, and it's very important when it comes to national security, always look through your opponent's eyes. Look through his lens. When you say things, what is it going to get? What kind of reaction are you going to get? You know, I remember with President Trump, when we were in the Oval Office, when we were talking to adversaries, we were talking to Kim Jong-un as an example, he was very cautious in his comments. And I challenge anybody to go back and look at what he said about it. He would be pretty hard on our allies, but when it came to Putin or when it came to Kim Jong-un or it came to Xi, he was very circumspect when he talked, because words do matter. You know, I remind President Biden, you're not talking to this fictional character when you were a lifeguard, Corn Pop. You're talking to somebody who's got a nuclear arsenal that is the same as ours. And he is paranoid, and he's losing the fight in Ukraine, and you need to keep the pressure on, but let other people talk. Let Lindsey Graham talk. Let me talk. Let you talk. You know, like anybody else talk, but don't you talk. You are the President of the United States. Words do matter.
So he would not be the first president to have a list of names for reporters to call on. This president has been wont to have a list of names and pictures so he knows who he's talking to. Yeah. But yesterday it was different. This was direct messaging. And maybe we should feel better about that he actually has something written down based on what you said, General, because it gives you chills to think that if he makes another mistake, we could pay for it. Like the world could pay for it from what you're saying. A Fox News, go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right, Harris. And I think sensible people see that. That's the reason he's getting so much pushback from very responsible people, be allies or people in the press, people even on the street. Look, don't say stupid stuff.
Seems basic. Ukraine and Russia met for a face-to-face negotiation in Turkey earlier today. And Ukraine's foreign minister says the goal is to secure a ceasefire deal. But the United States officials are believing that Putin is not ready to end the war. Just what you said, General. He doesn't want to lose. He wants a safe face. Meanwhile, here's what's happening in Mariupol. A Ukrainian missile hit a Russian tank, but it may be too little, too late. The mayor there says the city essentially is under Russian control. He says at least 5,000 people have died there. Anyone left inside the city has to get out. Alex Hogan is live for us in Lviv in western Ukraine, what turned out to be a new target for Russian forces just a couple of days ago. Alex.
Hi, Harris. Well, we know that the negotiations wrapped up after about 5 hours in Turkey, and Russians say that they will not meet again tomorrow. This has concluded this round of conversation. Russia says that it will strategically move more of their troops out away from the capital of Kyiv, which is something that we have seen them shifting more of their troops to the eastern part of the country. Those words were backed up earlier on in the day by the Russian defense minister, who underlined their key goal.
The
liberation of Donbas. Ukrainian armed forces suffered considerable damage. Air superiority was achieved. The Air Force and the air defense network were practically destroyed.
Near that contested area of Donbass, Russian troops have now taken over the city of Mariupol. The mayor urging residents to flee, but roughly 160,000 people are still there. He says they are still trapped. Roughly 5,000 residents have died in the last month, according to the mayor's office, just since Russia's invasion. Now, further to the southwest of the country, there's an entry point to the Black Sea, MYKOLAIV. And if seized, that city would cut off Ukraine from much much of its coast. An explosion there in MYKOLAIV today blasted a hole in a 9-story government building. We've now learned that at least 7 people have died in that blast today. The governor says that most people managed to escape, but rescue teams are on scene searching for those who are missing. Some of these towns across the country, Harris, have been turned completely to rubble. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky speaking today about the damage that he has witnessed in his country, saying that more than 700 educational institutions have been decimated, destroyed by shelling that we have seen. There's also new comments about how much we are seeing in terms of attacks here. 40 Russian missiles hitting Ukraine every single day, and we just heard the sirens here in Lviv about 10 minutes ago.
Well, we know,
Harris.
as I started with you, that is a new target for Russian forces. Not necessarily that they would be able to take Lviv, but they certainly want to apply the pressure and terrorize the people inside of it. Alex, thank you very much, particularly for focusing on Mariupol. I want to bring back General Kellogg now and get to this new report, because while those talks were going on, the Ukrainian peace negotiators and a Russian oligarch led those talks, developed symptoms. Those people in the talks developed symptoms of a suspected poisoning after a meeting in Kyiv earlier this month. Some sources are blaming pro-Russian nationals from Moscow, saying they wanted to sabotage peace talks. So they're hitting Mariupol. They want to take the south. And now we're learning that earlier, when they were supposed to do good faith talks, people were being poisoned. General?
Yeah, Harris, I really don't trust the Russians at all about anything. Look, what they're telling you when you're listening to what's being said about the talks and their actions is they are losing this fight. They're pulling away from the crown jewel, the city of Kyiv, and the installation of a new government. They're heading back towards the east. That means they are failing. But we're failing too. We should have been giving Zelensky everything he's wanted. The S-300 air defense systems have not arrived yet. They should have gotten the MiG-29s. You know, we should be giving them every single thing he wants to keep pushing back on the Russians and keep them on their heels. And my concern about the negotiations is the reason the Russians are going to keep negotiating is they're going to try to get an easy play. And they're going to try to say, okay, we'll just hold on to the east, hold on to Crimea. Zelensky should play hardball, and we should support him in the West and give him the military means he needs to push the Russians totally out. Now, that probably won't happen, but we won't play a role in negotiations. When you look at the relationship between Putin and Biden, if you think we're going to have a seat at the table, we are not.
Wow. And meanwhile, Biden and the White House are arguing over whether or not he said this or said that or meant this or meant that. All of it has global consequences. General, thank you very much for being in focus today. Today is National Vietnam War Veterans Day. And approximately 9 million Americans served during the Vietnam era. More than 6 million are still with us. March 29th marks the date that the last combat troops departed Vietnam, 49 years ago. And that same day, Hanoi freed the remaining prisoners of war. It was willing to acknowledge the end. On this day, we honor Vietnam veterans, former prisoners of war, those listed as missing in action, and their families. And just a quick second, among those people who came home, that leadership, was General Kellogg. And so, General, if you can still hear the sound of my voice, thank you for your service. There you are. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
The news networks.